Hello and welcome to the live session on how to access global market for foundry products. My name is Faizan Ali from BSI marketing team. I'm here to facilitate the collaborative session of BSI, IF and EEPC India. So before we start, I would like to mention some ground rules. You all have joined this session on listen only mode, but please feel free to type your questions in the chat box on the control panel. Our speakers will do their best to answer as many questions in the available time at the end of the presentation. If due to time limit, your questions remain unanswered, then we will answer all the parked questions via mail after this session. This session has been recorded and the recording shall be forwarded to all the attendees after the completion of the session. So, today, we have Mr. Nishant Mohan from BSI India, Dr. N.P. Sinha from CET IAF, and Mr. Beady Agarwal from EPC India as speakers. Thank you for joining us here today. Dr. N.P. Sinha, he received his PhD degree in metallurgical engineering from University of Birmingham, England in 1973. He worked in foundries in Germany, England, and India for the last 60 years. He is director of Super Smelters Limited and Allen's Global Services, Kolkata. Dr. Sinha is fellow member of Institute of Indian Foundrymen, Institute of British Foundrymen, and Chartered Engineer, London. Dr. Sinha is recipient of Best Foundryman Award by IIF. He is a visiting professor to many engineering institutions and published technical books and papers in many international and national journals. Presently, Dr. Sinha is chairman of Center of Education and Training, IIF, and co-chairman, Indian Foundry Journal. Our next speaker is Mr. Nishant Mohan. Mr. Nishant Mohan is heading the construction sector of product certification at BSI India. He is a mechanical engineer with MBA and has over 8 years of experience. His expertise lies in HVAC, building technologies, and renewable energy, including working in various parts of the globe like India, Middle East, Europe, and South America. Our third speaker is Mr. Beady Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal has done his Master of Commerce from Calcutta University and graduated from St. Xavier College, Kolkata. He has a vast experience of more than 40 years in manufacturing gray iron casting and 10 years in manufacturing ductile iron castings. He is the managing partner of Calcutta Export Company. He is also the managing director of Havra Ferris Limited. He is presently the regional chairman of EEPC India Eastern Region. An ardent humanitarian, he is an active Rotarian and trustee in several social welfare organizations like Shri Vishwadanand Saraswati Marwadi Hospital and Anand Lok, both of which are charitable medical institutions. To start with the session, I would like to hand over to Dr. Sinha. Over to you, Dr. Sinha.
And I thank all the participants, my colleagues on BSI and the EPC, for joining me. And this session on how to get into the export market, which has been will be held by BSI, and we two members, EPC and ourselves, I'm sure will get benefited. Can I have my slides, please? Right. I'll run through 4 or 5 slides just to inform you. You already know about it, but refresh the memory that what we are in the foundry industry. We are all talking about the foundry industry, and BSI also is here to extend their hands to get the certification and so on. Now we see that China is the biggest casting producers in the world, and we are the second with 11.3 million tons. Now here, when we proudly say we are the second largest in the world, we also should know the difference is 4 times. China is 52, and then we are only 11.9. So, we have to keep this in mind. We discuss further. Next. Now, production of castings in India, if we see, good that we are progressing very well, apart from 1 year, 1920, because of the corona, it has gone slightly lower, and it has picked up again. And I'm sure with the government policies, new policies, with the tax benefits and the reducing the price for input material, raw materials, the 22-23 is going to be a very, very big bumper year. So we are looking forward for a very good increase in our production and export and so on. Next. The castings, as we see here, is the auto and the street castings and so on. So auto casting, that's the domestic one, but there is a good chunk for all over the world. That's what we can produce in India. Next. This is another very interesting information. We export 3,500 billion pounds, and then again we import 1,500 million pounds in India, the castings. So that means there is a room for Indian companies to make this 500, or even half of it is 700 million. So, there is a big scope for Indian foundry industry to go for domestic market as well as export market, where we can get the help of BSI. Next. Right. Sorry about that. Now, what are the bottlenecks which is hindering or which is stopping India to get into the export market or make the production? As I said, 57 millions we are importing. Why can't we make it? Or can we not export more? Because rising of the material cost. As you know, last year material costs gone 50% higher. Every day, every month, the foundry people who are buying, who are manufacturing, they know it. Price were fixed with the customer and input costs were increasing. They didn't know what to do. Shipping costs also gone up. The skilled manpower, this is one of the things we are really lagging behind. Go to that in a little further detail. Good quality of power at a competitive rate. We are much, much higher than most of the countries who are in industry or exporting. One of our senior foundrymen, past president, he visited China. There the night tariff is only 2.5 rupees. Anywhere in India we don't have. Now tell me, when the price international raw material is the same, how do we compete in the market when the power is 8 rupees against 2 rupees in China? Something has to be done. Anyway, government has woken up. They have really recently done, as we all know, reduce the price, stop the export, increase the duty on the import. So that's going to definitely help us. Change into the electric, the new car, the electric automobile that's slowly changing over the electric cars, not slowly changing, very, very fast. Then we can accept their technology and produce the casting required by them. We are not ready really yet. So we have to see that part, how we can get the ready by production, by certification, and so on. Indian foundry MSME is large, and I said not ready. Why? We know raw material, we know the power is costly, labor is not there. Then what we can do so that we can get over all these bottlenecks? I have very 5-6 minutes. Time is so short, but I will try to utilize it and give you some information which will be interesting to you. I am the presently chairman of the Center for Education and Training, which is a technical wing of Institute of Indian Foundrymen based in Calcutta. And this wing trains the people in the foundry on foundry working. There are different people working on the grassroots level, supervisory level, and manager level. Also, we conduct a technical education system where we do the examination and so on. But important thing is we train the workmen who are working in the foundry, the people who haven't gone to even school, senior molders and so on in this trade. But we train them. We were training them, calling them at our head office and our lecture theaters and so on. That used to take time, traveling time, and the time from the work. So 4 or 5 years back, we decided, let's go, let's, people, mountain go to the thirsty people. So we go to the foundry, carrying the LED projector and the screen, put it up in the shop, and with the projector, LED projector, pre-prepared PowerPoint slides, we tell them that this is how train them, tell them we train them and train them in local language. We have made 12 modules for training these people in different foundry subjects like melting, sand, pattern making, metallurgy, heat treatment, pattern making, and so on. And they are again translated in 7 Indian languages: Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Marathi, Punjabi, and Bengali. So, the communication becomes very easily. And when you talk in a local language, you become friendly and you become much easier. And they accept you without any questions. This is how it has been going. Now, so this is what we are doing from Institute of Indian Foundrymen. Now, coming back to the industry, in India, 80% of the castings in India are produced by MSME units. Then again, 50% is from small and micro units. Small foundries with decades-old infrastructure and technology have low productivity and poor casting quality, be it in gray iron or SG iron, which is in high demand in the export market. This export opportunity can be achieved by tackling it at 2 fronts simultaneously. Firstly, training the foundrymen for skill and development for higher production and better quality castings. Secondly, certification of foundries by internationally recognized body so that a buyer sitting at 50,000 kilometers away knows that he will get the right quality castings he wants. CET has organized this program and they are doing it, this Yogata Vikas scheme. It's a special training program, as I said, made for the grassroots level foundry people who are actually producing the castings on foundry subjects. CET has conducted so far these programs, Yogata Vikas, 99 programs all over India in different countries, as I said. The 100th, I'm glad to inform you, we have done 99, and 100th Yogata Vikas training program will be conducted on 28th of this month, means next week, at Govind Steel Limited, Kolkata, one of the big casting exporters from Eastern India. And we will also glad to know they are the BSI certified foundry with Kite mark, which has given them an edge over other exporters, and they have got business all across the world, which is Canada, America, UAE, and so on. Certification is important because certification is important as it demonstrates to both buyer and stakeholder that your foundry has capabilities of delivering high quality product and will be delivered on time with green energy efficient technology. Technology changing every time, you know. In India, if we go across, I'll come toward the end of this and tell you, we are some of the foundry, we are still carrying on the same technologies were done 50 years back. You know, not valid today. They will never survive. Anyway, BSI short, what do we say, BSI? BSI in short is for British Standard Institution, a century-old organization with Royal Charter, respected and known internationally. I know a little bit about it because I have worked in England for 20 years. I have graduated from England and I know a little bit about BSI, so this is what I say. Chartered in India, which is very well respected all over the world. Right. Now, we are glad that BSI has come forward to help Indian foundries with certification, which goes a long way in assessing the export market. Mr. Nishant Mohan from BSI will provide more light on this procedure and benefit of BSI certification. Finally, I would like to thank our city director, Mr. Ravi Dhawan, who has provided me the data I presented. Thank you all for the patient hearing. Thank you very much indeed.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Sinha, for such an insightful numbers and facts that you have shared with our audience. So it's time for our first poll question, and as Mr. Sinha has left the conversation on a very interesting question, that why MSME and Indian foundries are unable to export when they can. We would like your opinion as well. So the next slide on the screen, you can see will be a poll question. From there, you can select your suitable answers. And please bring in the next question. I would request all the participants to share their views on this question and select the suitable answer. Here are the results. Now I would request Mr. Nishant Mohan from BSI to take over the conversation.
Yeah. Faizan, audible? Yeah, so thanks Faizan and IAF and EEPC for organizing this event. And I think Mr. Sinha has already given our profile, you know, everything. I don't think I have to talk a lot now. Next slide, Faizan. So it will be very short, probably for next 15 minutes. The foundry potential, industry's potential was talked about by Mr. Sinha. So I'll be taking you through the benefits of certifications, you know, why the foundries should go for a certification. And then I'll talk about the different kind of certifications we provide for foundry industry and the targeted countries. And the general certification process. Many of you may not know what exactly is the actual process involved. So I'll just provide a glimpse of that as well. And after that, yes, we don't do everything on foundry industry. So whatever products we cover in the foundry industry, I'll also give you a glimpse of that with the standards involved. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Next slide, Faiza. So Mr. Sinha has already given you the profile. Well, BSI stands for British Standards Institution. We are like the BIS of India, Bureau of Indian Standards in India. So we are the same way we are BSI in UK. And we are from myself from the product certification side, leading the construction practice. We have around 85,000 plus clients in almost all the countries globally. And that I'm not going through the data again. You can see the revenue, headcounts, and got a couple of labs in the UK. But essentially, they're not for foundry, because foundry products mostly we are testing it on site at the client's premises. Next slide, Faiza. So this is a very important slide because for those of you who don't know BSI, this is a slide to understand how prominent and our legacy. As Mr. Sinha told you, we are a 120-year-old organization. And one of the main status what we have is a Royal Charter status. It is basically a status given to British companies, not every British company, that serves, that functions for a purpose, for the betterment of the society, and it is awarded by a decree by the Queen of England. A similar company is, let's say, BBC, which you all might know. And what happens is we all work for profit. Even BSI works on a profit. We are not an NGO, but end of the year, what profit we generate, there is no shareholder to take the return of their capital. There is an independent board, and then there is the group management. And with the approval of the board, the group management decides, okay, what should we do with the profits? It's basically going all back to the company, and it is being reinvested back into the company for developing further schemes, or maybe investing in new acquisitions or in new labs and new testing, apparatus and all those things. So that is what, just for information, that is what we mean by a Royal Charter. And ISO is a very popular name in today's standards industry. We are also the founding member of ISO. The same year, India got independence. And CEN is basically the standards committee of European Union. So BSI apparently also happens to be a founding member of CEN as well. And the next one is probably the biggest milestone in our history. Everybody knows today ISO 9001, which is a standard quality management system. But it is an evolution from the British standard 5750 that later became ISO 9001. So that is something of big contribution from our side. And the last one, it is basically the standard for carbon neutrality. PA stands for publicly available standards. I know foundry industry, carbon neutrality, these are kind of not matching together at the moment because, I know it's a heavily energy-oriented industry. But we published it for the first time in 2010, which is a hot topic today. And I'm very sure that this standard of carbon neutrality will also, chase even the foundry industry, very soon. Next slide, Faiza. So before I talk about this slide, I'd just like to, give you an example. I'm not going to the cliche example of, Apple. Everybody talks about Apple. Why are they successful? Being this, webinar happening in India, let's talk about chai, tea. I'm an avid tea lover. So I always feel that, brands like Taj Mahal or Society, they are like very tasty. And then I see that, they are a little bit expensive when looking from a common man's perspective. Okay, for somebody, it's not at all expensive at all. But from a common man's perspective, there are a lot of tea brands that you get for half of that price. So what I did, I've tried a lot of brands, and what I understood is the taste what you get in those a couple of brands, what you have there, it is not what you get on the other one. I mean, you don't like it, and it is simply because there is something like a quality factor. Of course, they might be backed up by big corporate giant, but that's a different side, business side. I'm just talking from a product angle. You like the product. and you pay for the product. It is simply because they maintain a quality aspect to their product, and that's why even with a higher price, their units are being sold, and their units are being sought of. Like, do you have this brand? People go to the shops and ask. So I just told this example just for everybody to understand what does it mean by quality. That is where we add value. BSI as a certification and standards body, we add value. Taking from where Mr. Sinha stopped, why the MSMEs are finding it difficult to export. End of the day, we say, okay, India is a price-driven market. I disagree. I say world is a price-driven market. Everywhere people look at the price. But the difference is that in many other countries, it is not just the price, but they also look at the quality. Where do the manufacturer come from? What are the credibility? What are certifications? What are documents they submit as a part of vendor qualification? So this is where BSI comes into picture. And now I talk about this slide. If you look at the slide, the circle, all of the 6 points are interrelated. Most of you will be obviously owning or will be in a foundry business. So obviously the top left point will be the point of maximum interest, which is the increased profit. So increased profit obviously comes from more revenue, and more revenue will come from where? So you have to sell more units, right? So you have to export more units. And for that, obviously, you should have a consumer trust. You should have a customer who is buying from you constantly. I mean, every year, let's say, I don't know, I'm just guessing 10,000 pieces or 20,000 pieces. So that consumer trust will come from, I'm just looking at a time. Okay. So that consumer trust will come from these kind of credible certifications. And BSI being a global organization, mostly in the Europe, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and even in Africa, Middle East, those parts, they recognize this BSI certificate. So when they get that trust and you are complying and you are yearly you are validating those certifications. So that's where the trust begins, because every manufacturer can claim that we are making the best, but for another person, it will be always better if they see an independent party's validation. Okay, like this manufacturer is adhering to certain factory production control methods. They have a quality management system in place, etc., etc. So that's where the trust begins, and that's where you differentiate yourself, because there might be 10 companies maybe supplying or ready to supply, but why this company? Because okay, they are differentiated. They have the certificates with their hand. So that's where the differentiation comes into picture. And also, what I mean by risk and compliance is it is specifically with respect to this. If you look at the logo on the middle, it is basically the Kitemark logo. Kitemark is a BSI owned certification brand. So in many of the schemes, not for foundry but other schemes, there is a regulatory requirement which is like a, let's say, CE mark requirement. But we also give a Kitemark certification which is above the CE mark, which obviously means that the Kitemark covers much or requires a much more stringent requirement from the product manufacturer. So which means that it covers a minimum level plus something extra. So that is what the Kitemark means. And by that, what I mean is, even when the government, the regulatory environment in some other country changes, they elevate the bar, still you are covered because you are already producing your products at a much higher standard when you are taking a Kitemark certification, right? So that's what I mean by, you are reducing your risk by going with the Kitemark certification for the specified products. And that is what I also mean by, beyond compliance. So beyond the legal compliance, you are going further ahead, already proactively from your side. And yes, the final point is market access. That itself is the topic of this session. And the next slide, I'll talk about the certifications and the countries you can access. Faizan, next slide. So as I mentioned, on the top left, you can see that logo is basically the Kitemark, which is a BSI-owned brand. And that certification is being recognized in the UK. The green color, I think most of you might not recognize. It is a logo of GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council that encompasses Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain. So these 6 countries, generally we call as Middle East, but Middle East is a much wider area. So these GCC 6 countries, and then UK, and the blue flag is the European Union, which is, as you know, the 27-member country. So these are the countries where the kite mark is recognized. And then we have a benchmark on the top right, which is again similar to kite mark, but it is according to the Australian standard. The kite mark is according to the EN standard, be it British standard or European standard, but the benchmark on the right is according to the Australian standard, and that certification is being recognized in Australia and New Zealand. And then bottom left is UKCA, which stands for United Kingdom Conformity Assessment, which is similar to CE, but UK went out of European Union to, I think, technically 1 or 2 years back, and they are having now a CE equivalent of, a program. So that requires certain products to be UKCA marked, and it is a mandatory requirement. While kite mark and benchmark, which I mentioned just now, they are voluntary, but UKCA is a regulatory requirement. And CE, I think everybody in India should be knowing, because we all see these logos at least on our headphones or mobile phones. But this is not applicable to the foundry industry, so I'm not talking much in detail about that. Next slide, Fazal. So this is a poll question. You can look at the screen. So what does this kite mark logo mean? There are 4 options. In the next screen, you will be asked to just observe the logo. Next screen, you'll be asked to just submit your answers, please. Because then I can tell, right, the right answer.
Yes, definitely you can.
Yeah, actually, yeah, majority got it right, actually, 52%. It's British standards verified, yeah. Can you make it? Okay. So certification process, this is how it looks. It is specifically for kite mark, but more or less, this is a kind of a process which you have to go through for any certification, the product certification. So consider that there is a scheme, let's say for manhole cover or iron pipes or drainage channels. So you approach us, or we talk, and then we ask for your information like company's legal information, the legal name, address, where is the product being manufactured, do you have one factory or multiple factories to be certified. So those kind of things, and the number of people employed in key positions. So those things we'll ask you. And it is better if you have a documented quality management system already in place, not essentially by BSI, even if by any company, it's fine. If not, we'll have one more stage of auditing. That's the only difference. And then, we'll discuss it with our internal team, and then we'll provide you a quotation. And then, okay, we agree, okay, you want to proceed. We'll start with the initial assessment of the factory production control of your factory premises. And then followed by ITT stands for initial type testing. The product testing happens there. Like I said in the beginning, it will be for foundry products. It is mostly on-site testing. So somebody from our technical team will come and witness, the engineer will witness the test. Then followed by the evaluation, and finally our risk and compliance team back in the UK headquarters will check all the details before releasing the certificate. And everything goes well, we'll release the certificate. And for kite mark, there will be an annual surveillance test, which means we want to make sure that whatever you have shown us in the beginning, you are continuing that in order for you to continue the certificate. So at least every 6 months, there will be at least a day of assessment. Somebody will be coming to your factory and verifying that, okay, all the things are in place, intact, as we have seen it before. So this is a general kind of certification procedures for people who haven't, who don't know about the process. That's it. Next slide, Faizan. So now I'll quickly go through the products. Like I said, we don't cover the whole of foundry. For example, I know there are a lot of people who are working in the automotive castings, which we don't cater at the moment. So right now, we provide services for manhole cover against EN 124-2, and also we provide, so that is Kitemark, and we also provide the benchmark certification also for that product according to the Australian standard. Then we have the ductile iron pipes and fittings according to all those 545, 598, 2531, and 718, all those standards. Then we have the drainage channels. Whatever standards, whatever certifications we provide, you can see at the bottom. So this means this is Kitemark, this is UKC, and this is benchmark. Then we also provide the certifications for the flange adapters. Next slide, Faizan. And here you can see all the types of valves: butterfly, gate, globe, and check valves. And for all these products, these are Kitemark certifications. And all these standards cover a range of the nominal diameters of valves lying between 20 and 1000, and the pressure ratings up to 25, PN 25. And all of these the standards are all mostly applicable for industrial purposes, not for, let's say chill water, building services. These are not for that, but for industrial applications. So primarily chemical, oil and gas, those kind of applications. Next slide, Faizan. Yeah, sorry, before that, I would like to also tell you, we understand that we don't cover all the products at the moment, but if any of you attending today feel that there is a demand, export demand for any other product which we haven't shown here, and you think that there is a real demand from India for that, please let us know. We'll make a business case and we can start certifying those products. So that's we invite your suggestions and feedback on that. And yeah, these are some of the top-notch names. I don't have to talk about any of them. All of them are big names. We provide them services in our product certification or in our other quality systems to all of these foundry or steel companies. And next slide. I think so that sums up. Thank you very much. I think Mr. Agarwal is here. Then I would like him to take the mic. Thank you.
Mr. Agarwal, I would request you to unmute your mic and address the audience, please.
Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I've unmuted. Am I audible now?
Now we can hear. Yes, sir.
Now I'm audible. Okay. Mr. Nishant Mohan, Head of PC, BSI India. Mr. N.P. Sinha, Chairman of CET, IIF, and Co-Chairman, Indian Foundry Journal. Distinguished participants, it is my privilege to address you at today's session. At the outset, for the benefit of those of you who are not the members of EEPC, I would like to speak briefly about EEPC India. EEPC India is the largest council under the aegis of Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, facilitating exports of engineering goods from the country since 1955. It has around 13,000 members, of which 60% are MSMEs. And from a very modest beginning in the year 1955, the Indian engineering exports have grown to the extent of USD 112.10 billion in the year 2021-22, the highest figure achieved so far in the post-independent India. The council has got many activities like marketing, promotional, and for their promotional activities, they organize trade fairs, exhibitions all over the world, and also organize reverse buyer-sellers meet in India itself, where more than 500 delegates from 60 countries have visited in the past. Due to these exhibitions and trade fairs, the overseas buyers are made aware of what products India is capable of manufacturing, and they can also see our quality. The growth trend of Indian engineering exports is still increasing, and it is heartening to note that in the first 2 months of the current fiscal year, in April and May, the engineering exports have been to the tune of 20 billion USD, a 16% increase in exports during the same period last year. Although all these trends look very impressive, but there are still some concerns. The Russia and Ukraine war has severely hampered the shipments to CIS nations and may have ripple effect on global economy. Resurgence of COVID and subsequent damage of business prospect in some industrial cities may also impact the global trade scenario adversely. Rising oil and commodity prices also add fuel to the uncertainty. Although the rupee is depreciating and the dollars are fetching good money, but if it continues, it may also affect the economy in the long run. As has been mentioned by Mr. Sinha and Mr. other prominent speakers, the Indian foundry industry has still not achieved its full potential. The need of the time is to lower down the cost of manufacturing, increase the productivity, and produce high-quality, defect-free products. Various manual operations like mold shifting, crushing, lower surface finishing, shrinkage, porosity, and extra materials are common casting defects which affect the quality of foundry products. It is of utmost importance to understand that total quality management tools which will have long-term benefit with respect to quality and productivity. For this, the foundries have to be modernized and which need a lot of capital investments, which is a little difficult for the MSME right now. Due to so many technical defects, certifications have become very important. These recognitions are important for customers to understand as they pertain to a company's supply chain and management process. Certifications like Kitemark, CE, and UKCA provide proof of a manufacturer's quality management standard from their production process to customer relations. These standards promote quality, safety, efficiency. We ourselves are the holders of Kitemark, and I can certify that this adds to your profit. There are many countries in the world, which like UK and some of the Middle East countries, which only purchase materials with Kitemark. It is very interesting and enlightening to know that these certification bodies and various other independent third-party certifications are doing this. BSI, Mr. Nishant Mohan from BSI has already given a lot of details about how to get the Kitemark, the benefits, and I need not go into the details of all this. Despite all the bottlenecks, the Indian metal casting industry is well established and is the second largest export manufacturer of castings in the world, of various grades of casting as per Indian international standards. The export of castings from India during the year 21-22 is to the tune of USD 3 billion. 3 billion USD. India's top 10 destinations are USA, Canada, UK, Germany, Italy, China, France, Spain, and Singapore. With these words, I would like to thank all of you for the patient hearing and all the best for Expos. Thank you.
So, thank you to our speakers, and I'm sure this session was indeed a very insightful one for our participants. And now it's time for our last poll question. I would request all the participants to select your choice of answers. So now it's time for a question and answer session. I would request all the participants to kindly post their questions in the chat box, which is there on the control panel. So we have our first question. This is to Mr. Agarwal. Why EPC should not jibe more concessions for MSMEs to participate in international trade fair considering economical situation? Mr. Agarwal, this question is for you. I request you to unmute yourself and address the question.
Mr. Ali, may I take the question? So I'm
Yeah, sure.
Secretariat from EPC India. I'm Anima Pandey. I'm director at EPC India. To this, I would like to reply that all the trade fairs and exhibitions which are held, they are at a great concessional rate because of the grants we receive from the government of India. Like, for example, if you have to participate in a Hanover fair, which will cost you maybe around 400 or so euros, you will, but through EPC India, it will come down to maybe 180 or 200. So that is the kind of, concessional charges we do. We do we give other facilities like we put you up in a hotel, we arrange for pickups and drops, and we also, the airfare reimbursement is also there. As and if you fall under that guideline, where it is like your expos should not be nil but less than 50 crores, and you have to be a member of a council for a year to avail this benefit. And I would request you to be in touch with us to understand more about our schemes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing that question. And the second question. Okay, so there are a series of questions. Approximate cost of Kitemark steel casting product certification. Nishant, I think that's for you.
Yeah, I was expecting that question. I'm sorry, we can't discuss any commercial simply because there is no standard cost. To be very honest, even if you take a one product of, let's say, pipe, it depends on what all sizes you want to add. So which answers the question. Any product, depending on the range, what you want to, because you may not be interested to certify your whole range, because for export markets, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 will be of scope for you, maybe not the other bigger sizes, or bigger sizes will be of. So the costing is very complicated. So there is no standard fixed costing for this. That is my, but yeah, please reach out to us, and we can give you a quote, and if you're happy, then we can go ahead, or we will give you a tentative cost, after knowing your requirements, we can even give you a ballpark figure. So if that fits in your budget, then we can discuss further. Thanks.
Thank you for the answer. And our next question is, which body certify foundry?
What's the
I
question?
think, yeah, which body certifies foundry? Foundry products, I think.
I mean, BSI. I don't know what was the actual question. Sorry.
Okay, so contact details of Mr. Nishant we'll share. We'll share with you after this session. We'll definitely share.
I think we'll send the recording and right. So
Yes.
I think contacts can be shared in that whoever has attended or registered.
And this is another question that we have. We had seen IF RM price and increment circulars in March and April 22, and recently we are seeing RM prices decrement trend as per MMR. Does IF is going to share circulars for RM price decrement? Dr. Sena, I think this question fits for you.
Prices are available on FIC website. Online prices are available. Also, they are published every month journal in the every month journal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dhawan, for addressing that question. And our next question, this is for Nishant. What makes only Kitemark acceptable in more global markets as compared to other mentioned standards?
Well, as I've given in that that global market access slide. Yes, we don't cover the United States because obviously it's a British standard. So the whole of Europe, Middle East, Australia, New Zealand, even to I didn't mention the Southeast Asian countries, but certain erstwhile countries, because where this is accepted also has got something to do with history. So erstwhile kind of British colonies like Hong Kong, Singapore. So these all places actually accept the kite mark because they are actually according to the BSEN standard. So when you get this kind of markets opening up for you, I think it's something unique. Africa, I'm not mentioning, to be honest, because they don't have much of regulatory. So even if, that is also acceptable in Africa as well, because I know many of those Indian companies are exporting to Africa. But I didn't mention that because sometimes they may even accept, even Indian standards as well, depending on country to country. But definitely British standard will be acceptable to Africa as well, which is a big continent. But I know the market is relatively small for foundry. So except I think US or North America, rest almost all the geographies are covered, which kind of, for me, it makes Kitemark unique.
Okay, thank you for addressing that question. I think
Sina wants to add something.
Dr. Sena wants to add on to something.
You can unmute him.
Dr. Sena, you have to unmute yourself first.
Azan, you can't do that?
No. Unmute thing he might.
Can you hear me now?
I think Dr. Abish.
Yes.
You are audible, Dr. Sena.
Guys, see that?
It is unmuted.
So now you're audible.
All right. Just to supplement the question that was asked to Mr. Mohan, a few years back I visited US. You cannot say BS is not acceptable. I think it may not be directly. The customer wants from US, give me the BS certification material, but the company I was associated in India, they're collaborated with IFEX Limited. It's a very big company. There's several foundries across US, New York, Denver, Buffalo, Atlanta. And, the BSI is so respected internationally The moment you say, I'm producing casting under BSI certification, oh yes, BSI, yes, yes. So you get the hearing. That itself is 50% job done. So I think, you have to think in those terms. And good, I think I've been associated with the foundry industry for many years. In Calcutta, it's 40 years. This is the first time BS has taken a plunge along with, IIF and the EPC and so on, making people aware of this. And certainly, as I said, the one company I'm associated, they're reporting, so BSI has got internationally respect. And maybe very soon, perhaps America will say, all right, I want BSI certificate to come from a particular foundry, buy it. Why not? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Mr.
Sinha.
You talk from your experience, so I take it. Thank you very much.
Most welcome.
So our next question, what is the validity of Kitemark certification once approval is taken? Nishant, I think you would like to input.
Once you take the certificate, the validity is 3 years, provided you pay the annual maintenance fee for the certificate every year. But yeah, after 3 years, again, it will be renewed. So the initial validity is for 3 years.
So another question is BSI certification is applicable worldwide or limited regions?
I think I've answered the question again. I told you, for that Mr. Sinha already told, even in US also it is having some leverage. But other countries, like I mentioned on the slide, UK obviously being the home country of BSI, or the European Union, the 27 countries, Middle East, all the GCC countries, Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, and Australia, New Zealand. I mentioned it's a different, not Kitemark, but it's a benchmark. But again, there also it is being accepted. So that covers Asia, Oceania, Middle East, Europe, UK, and Africa as well. So and taking Mr. Sinha's somewhat accepted US as well. So I think we don't have any further place on this planet.
And the last and a very interesting question, any special discount for MSME?
Is it to me or IAF discount?
I think probably whosoever can avail them. So this is the last question of the day.
Do I get 1 minute time? Wait a minute.
Yes.
Mr. Ali, do I have 1 minute time?
Yes, Dr. Sinha. Sure.
So he can continue.
1 minute. Do I have? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, I think certification part has been done very well. People are aware, and certainly they will go for it. Why people from Indian foundry are not able to move? I will not talk about the price. I will not talk about the electricity. I will come back to the training. And even I will not talk about the training, what we are doing. Where the missing link is that gray iron and ST iron, these are the two materials required internationally for castings. Street cover, manhole cover, engineering, valves, and so on. What has happened that ST iron is a new, gray iron is 100-year-old, ST iron is only 50 years old. So people are trying to graduate from gray iron to ST iron. They are thinking, yes, gray iron, I have a foundry, Tupla foundry, put in induction furnace, make a start ST iron. It's not that. Metallurgically, they are two different kettle of fish altogether. The same manhole cover, which is made in cupola cannot be made by induction furnace, ductile iron, by the same molder, because the character is different. Cast iron, the manhole cover, you just pour the metal, contraction is only 0.2%. So there is no shrinkage, which you will see. A lot of casting with shrinkage, high rejection, so on. So that is not in gray iron. The moment you go to ST iron, contraction is 0.8%. The same molder who has graduated from gray iron to ST iron will use his father's technique given to him, passed on to him, and make the same way that gray iron casting in ST iron, and we'll have shrinkage. And rejection is 10 to 15% in industry. That's where I think the foundry owners, they have to learn. If they don't know, training has to start from grassroots level on these things. Only then thing will move. Then will casting come. Quality will improve, productivity will improve, export will improve, certification will come in. So it's a very complex thing. So we have to start that end also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe we are running ahead of time, but we have really interesting two questions. So we would request to stay on for a bit long. And these two questions are really interesting. And for Nishant, the first question is prerequisites for to attain BSI certification. And second question is how do we see Brexit influencing Kitemark certification in EU? Nishant, over to you.
Well, second question. I don't think Brexit has any influence on Kitemark. There is no influence because it is, as I mentioned. I don't know if you, the person who has asked this question, saw the slide. There is something called UKCA, which is a similar kind of CE equivalent requirement for UK. So that is a kind of a baby that was born out of Brexit, because UK no more feels that they are part of EU. So they want to have something like, what we have in India, ISI mark. So they want something called a mark of their own. And that's why UKCA was born, which will be implemented only from the next January of 2023. But Kitemark, anyway, since it has global acceptance, like I mentioned, EU, UK, all the countries, Middle East. So Brexit doesn't have any influence on Kitemark. And the first question was, what is the procedure?
Prerequisites to attain BSI certification.
There is nothing like any prerequisites. If you have a quality management system in place already, again, not essentially from BSI, from any other certification body, that will avoid one or couple of days of audit, assessment from our certification package or scope. If you even don't have that, then that also we have to include, which means there will be a couple of days stage 1 audit, because you don't have a documented quality system at all in place. Then we have to add that as well. And then from that, we make sure that the products are tested, and if it fails, well, it fails, because we want to maintain our credibility as well, to be honest. So make sure that the products, the materials used and the procedures used, everything is of top-notch quality. That's where you make the finest quality products that are accepted globally. And that is what we dream about, this market in India. And that is where we go to the first point, what Mr. Sinha was mentioning, the quality of the products is finally what matters. And that should, so we are, as a standards body, we are trying to raise that benchmark of foundry products from India. That's what I would like to say about that question.
Okay, that's all for the question and answer session. Thank you so much, speakers and our attendees. And I hope you all have enjoyed this session and gained a good knowledge on how to access the global market for the foundry products. Technical team can support you with the same, and recording shall be forwarded soon to all the attendees. Thank you so much, everyone.